Revenge films.
I was away on a long-term business trip, and the one thing that I would look forward to the most was being able to talk to my daughter on the phone. My daughter was 4 years old, and a little girl full of curiosity. Every time she would answer the phone,
Yesterday, I was playing tag with my friend Mary.
"Oh yeah? Did you have fun?"
Yeah.
She would be so excited to tell me about what happened recently, and I was always excited to hear about it. But then one day, when I finished work and checked my messages,
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I had this short text message from my daughter. I was shocked, and I immediately called my wife. "Hey, did something happen to Kelly? I got a really weird message from her."
Nothing happened. Maybe she's just going through a bit of a rebellious phase. I'm sure she'll go back to normal soon, so just leave her alone for a little bit.
"What do you mean? I can't just leave it? Did something happen at the preschool?"
Like I said, nothing happened. Anyway, please hold back on calling her for a little while, okay?
I didn't get a chance to reply, and my wife hung up the phone. I couldn't recall doing anything that would make my daughter hate me, and I don't think I did anything to make her mad either. And yet, I couldn't understand why she would suddenly say that to me, especially when we were far away from each other, and I was devastated. A few days later, I just so happened to be on the phone with my colleague from work, Michael, when I heard the most shocking words. "But you know, I really feel so sad for Kelly's face. Getting such a big burn right on her face like that." "What? Did you just say burn? What? You don't know about this? I saw Kelly recently, and she had a big burn mark on her face. The poor girl." "No, I didn't know. I need to call my wife right now." I hung up immediately and called my wife. "How did Kelly get a burn? What the hell is going on? And why didn't you tell me anything?"
Because you would get angry like this.
"Of course I'm going to get angry if you're not going to tell me anything. How is it now? Is it bad? I'm coming home immediately."
Wait a minute. There's no need for you to come back at every little thing. Plus, she's the one saying she doesn't want to see you right now. Did you forget her message from the other day? The burn isn't that serious, so don't worry about it.
"Of course I'm going to be worried. Send me a photo of the burn."
She's going to hate that. Do you want her to hate you even more? I can take care of Kelly and already took her to the hospital, so don't worry. Bye.
Hey, wait a minute! My wife once again hung up on me. Something felt off with my wife, so I called Michael back. "Hey, sorry to bother you again. My wife is acting weird, and I really want to check the state of Kelly's burn, but there's nothing I can do about it if she refuses to show me or talk to me. I'm going to do my best to get back as soon as possible, but would you mind getting a photo of Kelly and sending it to me?" "Sure. She's actually in the same class as my kid, so when I go pick her up from the preschool, I'll take a photo for you." "Sorry. Thank you." A few days later, I got days off approved by my company, and I was getting ready to go home when I got a call from Michael. "Hey Michael, did you get a photo?" "I did get the photo, but do you have a minute right now?" "Right now? I was just getting ready to head back over there. What's the matter?" "Actually, we're looking after Kelly at our house right now." "What? My Kelly?" "When I went to go pick up my daughter from the preschool, I tried to get a photo of Kelly just like you asked, but your wife rushed in to take Kelly home, so I didn't get the chance. And I didn't want to sneak a photo or anything, so I didn't know what to do, and I went home first. After that, I went out to try to buy some cigarettes when I saw Kelly left all alone outside of your house." "What? What's going on?" "It turns out that her mom told her that she had a friend over and to stay outside, and that's where she was left the whole afternoon." "Is this summer heat?" "And then I saw Kelly standing outside of the door, crying and begging her mom to let her in. But then the mom came out from the house and told her to shut up and hit her and went right back in. I saw that and immediately took Kelly back to my house." "Is Kelly okay?" "Yeah, she had a slight heat stroke, but we gave her some sports drinks and got her hydrated, and my wife is looking after her now." "I see. I'm glad. Would you be able to send me a photo of the burn on Kelly's face?" "Yeah, just wait a minute." Michael immediately sent me a photo of Kelly. When I saw that, I was overwhelmed with anger and sadness, and my emotions were a complete mess. Kelly's sweet, fluffy white cheeks were covered in painful burn marks. After that, I quickly got another phone call. Hey, my wife just heard this from Kelly, but apparently the burn was caused by her mom. She said that her mom punished her for being a bad girl. When we asked her if she did anything bad, she said that she just asked to see her dad too many times, and her mom got mad. As soon as I heard that, I felt like I wanted to kill my wife. I wanted to go there immediately and hit her, and make her feel the same way she made Kelly feel. I was so angry, I didn't know what to do about it. Michael, can I ask you to look after Kelly until I can settle this with my wife? I don't want to return her to that woman ever again. Of course we can. I'm sorry, but I also have no intention of giving Kelly back to that woman anyway. My wife also agrees, so you can leave it to us. I'm really sorry. Thank you. Once I knew that Kelly was safe with Michael and his family, I jumped on a plane and ran back home. When I got back to the house and opened the door, I heard voices from inside that seemed like they were right in the middle of enjoying themselves. My wife certainly didn't expect me to be coming home anytime soon, so she didn't notice at all. I didn't even take my shoes off as I stormed into the house and slammed open the bedroom door. My wife looked up and saw me.
Ah, what are you doing here?
The guy then saw me and panicked and tried to put his underwear on. But I punched him right on the spot. Give me your driver's license! What? I don't know who you are or where you came from, so I'm telling you to give me your driver's license! Ah! Once I had that in my hands, I'm going to get to you later. But I have business with this one first!
Wait, this is a misunderstanding. I was just sad and lonely without you here, so I was just trying out a matching app.
Shut up! The more I listen to you, the more I think I'm going to throw up. Anyway, I've already called your parents, so they should be here soon. Then we can start to talk.
What? Why did you call my parents? You're joking, right?
My wife tried to hurry and put her clothes back on, but within moments, my in-laws arrived. What do you mean that Kelly's in danger? Just as they were saying this, they saw the butt-naked boyfriend and their daughter, and their jaws dropped. My wife was so focused on having an affair with this boyfriend that she neglected Kelly, and once again today, they left her outside in this blazing heat because Kelly would get in the way of their own fun. What? Is that the truth, Melissa?
No, he's making it all up.
Kelly's with my friend right now, at his house. They're taking care of her. And look at what Melissa did to her! She gave Kelly these burns! I pulled out my phone and showed my in-laws the photo that Michael had sent me. And my father-in-law lost it on the spot. What the hell have you done? And he slapped Melissa's face with full strength. The boyfriend sat there on the side and let out a as blood started streaming out of my wife's nose and he started crying. That wasn't enough for my father-in-law as he pinned his daughter down and screamed at her, "What have you done to your own daughter's face?" as he hit her over and over again. My mother-in-law was so shocked to see the scars on her granddaughter's face that she had crumbled on the spot. My wife's face was covered in blood and she could no longer speak.
Help me.
She tried to come begging for help to me, but do you have any idea how much more pain Kelly felt? You threw a freshly boiled pot of coffee on a child just because she wanted to see her own father. Honestly, if I could, I wish I could kill you on the spot right here. I'm sure my eyes were bloodshot and my pupils dilated as I said that. After that, my wife was dragged out by her parents, and the next day, I took the evidence to the police and my wife was arrested. Because she caused bodily harm to a child, she was sentenced to prison. On top of that, after getting hit by her father, apparently her eardrum burst, and she couldn't hear out of one ear anymore. As for the boyfriend, I sent both his company and his house the court documents, as well as the notice for the settlement fee. It turns out that the boyfriend was also married, and he was actually living with his wife and her parents at their house. He was living in a large mansion, and apparently, he was a pretty high-up director at his company as well. But after this incident, his wife divorced him, and her family also sued him for a high settlement fee. But that's none of my business. After that, I explained the situation to my company, and they allowed me to return back to the headquarters. Until my daughter would grow a little bit older, they also said that they would reduce my overtime hours, and were very understanding. Even then, on days that I had to work overtime, Michael's wife said,
You can always bring her over to our place. Our kids are good friends anyway.
I'm truly so grateful for them. As for my in-laws, apparently they disowned Melissa, and they came back to me and got down on their knees and apologized multiple times. But they didn't do anything wrong, and if they want to see Kelly, then I want them to still be part of our lives. She probably won't come out for a while, but I hope that Melissa spends her days in hell behind bars, regretting what she did.
This is a story about the hell I endured when I found out about my husband's affair after nursing my mother-in-law until the end. I was married to my husband for 12 years. We got married to each other out of love, but as soon as we got married, my mother-in-law had a stroke and was stuck in a hospital bed. From there, I began nursing my mother-in-law, and instead of enjoying my newlywed life or going on vacations, going to lunch with friends, or going shopping, I didn't have time for any of that. My mother-in-law wasn't a bad person at all, and if anything, she was always very grateful to me. However, she did require a lot of assistance, so I decided to quit my job, and I had my hands completely full with my mother-in-law, so I also didn't have any time to have children of my own. My husband was also busy with work, and he would often come home late, so we left almost all of the nursing to me. But I thought my husband was also working hard for us, so I tolerated it the whole time. After 12 years, when my mother-in-law passed, I had no words, and I felt empty, but at the very least, it was true that I was finally freed from a long time spent nursing. Now I could finally have my own time. I may have gotten older, but I would finally have time alone with my husband, and I would love to go on a vacation with just the two of us. That's what I was thinking, but instead, after my mother-in-law's funeral, shocking words came out of my husband's mouth.
I want a divorce.
Huh? What is he saying? Even though his mother had passed away just days ago, I couldn't understand what on earth this person was saying. What do you mean?
There's somebody else that I'm seeing, and I want to be with that person.
Huh? What do you mean seeing? Does that mean you're having an affair?
I guess that's what that means.
He forced me to nurse his own parent, and he didn't lift one finger to help, and yet he was cheating on me. From there, my ex-husband continued to dump unbelievable bombs of reality on me. What I thought was overtime and hard work all these years was actually just dates with his cheating partner. I was being exhausted of nursing morning until night, unable to take care of myself or the house, and also stuck in a house that smelled terrible as a result of taking care of matters down below. All the while, he was having fun with his beautiful mistress. I'm sure he must have had a great time with that. Because I was taking care of his mother, he wouldn't have to hire any nurses, so the nursing costs were zero. With that extra money, it means that he was enjoying his time with his mistress in hotels and whatnot. Even on days that he said were business trips, he was going on vacations with her, and I couldn't stop shaking. To put it simply, my husband wanted to divorce me much sooner, but if that were to happen, then the person taking care of his mother would also be gone. So he was waiting until she passed away. And finally, his mother passed away, so he had no use for me anymore. All of that alone was already enough of a shock to me, but then my husband confessed one more thing that shook me to my core. I couldn't believe it, but between my husband and his mistress, there was also a 4-year-old child. Even though I was so busy taking care of his mother that I couldn't have children of my own? It's not at all that I didn't want children, it's just that I wasn't able to. But even then, my husband said,
I couldn't have children with you, but over there, I have my own child. Please, you have to think about that child's future too.
What on earth was I doing for the last 10 years? I wanted every minute of those years back as I was laughing and crying at the same time. I couldn't be around my husband any longer, so I went back to my parents' house, and as soon as I saw their faces, I started crying again. That man, while I was giving my all to take care of my mother-in-law, was cheating on me the entire time. He even had a child! When my parents heard those words, my parents were so furious. I could see the fire around them.
Are you kidding me? Does he have any idea how difficult it was for you to take care of his mother this whole time?
That's right. This is too much. Who does he think you are?
That bastard! I won't let him get away with this!
My parents were angry, but I was just full of regret that I couldn't stop crying.
I'm sure my ex-husband just wanted to divorce me as soon as possible so that he could start his new life with his mistress. But my parents refused to let my ex-husband be happy after stomping all over my life like that. My husband was very quick to admit to the affair, so he said that he would pay the settlement fee in the divorce. However, he was only able to save up that money because I had done all of the hard work of nursing his mother-in-law instead of having to hire any help or nurses. That's why there was no way he would be forgiven just by paying that money. My parents called my ex-husband over to their house.
What do you think Heather's life is? A joke? Do you have any idea how difficult it was for her? How hard she worked to take care of your mother? Until her very last breath?
They tried to put their anger into words, but
Like I said, I'm going to pay the settlement fee. That'll be fine then, right?
my husband lightly tried to reply. My heart still wasn't able to keep up, and all I could think about was why? How I was able to work so hard for over 10 years for this piece of crap. It's not like I was resentful towards my mother-in-law, but towards the middle, her dementia had started progressing, and eventually, she didn't know who I was. And she wasn't even able to go to the toilet normally. I wanted to run away. And countless times I thought how I didn't want to do something so gross. But because she was my mother-in-law, I grit my teeth and did the best that I could. Seeing my parents get so angry for me made me stand back up. Give me back my life. I'm definitely going to destroy his life the way he did mine. From there, my parents and I started working towards a revenge on my husband on his mistress. First, I started by researching his mistress, and I succeeded in finding both her office and her home address. We discovered that the company was the same place where my cousin works, so at the same time as sending the certification of contents, I told her everything that happened. On top of that, it turns out that the mistress was living at her parents' house with her child. To the people around her, apparently she was happily saying,
I'm gonna be getting remarried soon.
So, I decided to meet with some of those friends of hers. I apologized to this woman I had never met, but I begged her that I was trying to find just a little bit of evidence of the affair, or if she had heard anything else that could work in my favor. At first, the woman was taken aback, but the more she heard my story, she seemed sympathetic, and began to tell me what kind of things the mistress had been saying on a daily basis. According to the mistress, the two of them had been separated when they were younger because their parents were against their marriage, but their love remained, so they reunited and fell back in love with each other. The reason why they weren't married was because their parents were against it, but she said that the parents seemed like they were coming around pretty soon and they would finally get to be together. In return, I told this woman what kind of life I had been living on a day-to-day basis over the last 12 years, and the woman went completely pale. She had tears in her eyes by the end and said, "That must have been so hard. I think you're an incredible person." We spoke for a little while after that, and in the end she said, "Please keep going. I know that there's a beautiful future waiting for you ahead." And we parted ways. I sent the certificate of contents to the mistress's house, and when her parents found out about the affair, "Get out of this house immediately!" I heard that they were enraged and they kicked the woman out of their house. On top of that, apparently her company was just about to publish a magazine for women with young babies at home. And to have an employee who was having an affair with a married man would be too bad for the company image. Word spread around the fellow moms in the preschool.
Apparently, while the wife was nursing her mother-in-law, the whole time they were having an affair.
But wait, didn't she tell us that he was the love of her life, but her parents were against it or something? But in reality, it was an affair. I can't believe that. What a piece of crap as a human. The rumors spread quickly, and everybody withdrew from her. And apparently, her child's lost all of her friends too, and they were no longer able to go to the preschool. At the same time, I got my revenge on my husband too. My uncle was actually in the same company as my husband, although in different departments. And when I told him everything about this situation, he was livid. He told everyone, including his colleagues and staff, what a horrible human my husband was. Of course, those rumors spread in an instant, and everybody was talking about what a piece of crap he was. Using the evidence that the woman I met with gave me, I was able to sue the mistress for a very high amount, which my husband found out about. Then he came to me.
What the hell do you think you're doing? This is all your fault!
He came storming into my place yelling, "What are you saying? This is all your responsibility, isn't it?"
You didn't have to open your mouth and tell everyone!
My husband dumped all of his mom's nursing on me, then had an affair and even made a child. Don't you think I would want to complain about that just a little bit? It's not like I told anybody to spread it, so if those people wanted to tell the people around them, isn't that their own right to do so?
Stop making up excuses! She and I have both lost our jobs and our homes! You've made us lose everything!
That's because you had an affair. You didn't think that people might frown upon that and point at you for it? Don't tell me you thought that people would congratulate you for cheating on me. And I laughed in his face. When I saw my husband's face looking so desperate and defeated, the sadness that I felt was a little bit refreshed in that moment. After that, for the 12 years that I lost taking care of his mother, and the fact that I was being cheated on that entire time, and that he even had a child with another woman, I sued the both of them for an amount not even my husband could have imagined, and divorced him. Especially my husband, along with the fact that he was cheating on his wife. The heartless monster that he was became a huge problem, and everybody in his office found out. His colleagues said,
Apparently, this guy dumped the nursing of his own mother to his wife over the years. And he was cheating on her the whole time. And as soon as his mom died, he tried to get a divorce.
everybody was talking about him, and he was no longer able to go to work. I heard he fell into a depression, and of course, he wasn't able to get remarried in that state. Someone told me he was a shell of a human nowadays, but he only got what he deserved. I know that I can't get those years of my life back, but I was able to get my revenge on the two of them, so at the least, the resentment I felt was redeemed. Little by little, I'm hoping I can enjoy my life and spend plenty of time on myself.
My name is Michael Smith, 24 years old. 6 months ago, I started dating my girlfriend, Maddie, who I met through a mutual friend. I really wanted to get married, and more than anything, I really wanted children soon. So I got a little carried away, and I proposed. Since the day that I met her, Maddie was always complimenting me for my looks, almost excessively.
Michael, your face is seriously so perfect. You're just so good looking.
Alright, that's enough. I've heard you say that over 100 times already. All I could say back was thank you, and it was starting to get a little bit cumbersome. Then, little by little, for some reason, she started teasing me for the features on my face.
Do people even get noses that sharp? And your chin is way too pointy.
Why do you keep saying that? I'm in a bad mood, so I'm leaving. She kept annoying me about my appearance, so I even left in the middle of a date one time. Does she not like my face anymore? Or is this what they call getting white feet? I thought about it a lot, but I didn't know the reason, and I was getting frustrated. But then one day...
Hey, Michael, I was thinking I want to introduce my friends to you.
Really? Now that you mention it, I've never met any of your friends, Maddie. I was really happy about this sudden suggestion from Maddie, so I invited them to my place, and we decided to host a dinner party. On the day of, one of her female friends, and to my surprise, 2 male friends, came over. I assumed that her friends would all be females coming over, so I was a little surprised, but they were her friends after all, so I greeted them. She said that they were her friends from college, but when they walked in, they barely said hello to me, and instead kept staring at my face, and then whispering amongst themselves. What is with these guys? I thought, and of course, it didn't feel good.
That is 100% for sure done.
Hey, Michael, was it? Do you have your school yearbooks? Also, if you have photos of your parents, then show us those too.
I want to see them too.
I want to see them too.
What? Right now? Can't this wait until after we're done eating? The 4 of them kept grinning as they were scanning my face. I had just served dinner on the table, so I denied their requests for now. But then, they seemed to be having even more fun about that, and raised their voices.
Interesting, so you can't show us.
Come on, man, go on, just say it. Mr. Boyfriend, you really shouldn't tell lies. What? What are you talking about? Maddie, what is this?
Michael, you actually got plastic surgery, didn't you?
I couldn't hide my shock at those words. Maddie thought this whole time that I got plastic surgery on my face. I finally understood why she was teasing me about my face, and at the same time, the disappointment was overwhelming. On the complete opposite of how I was feeling, Maddie and her friends cornered me. They kept going on and on. I felt like I was in an interrogation room, being questioned for a crime, and I desperately tried to deny their allegations. I've never had plastic surgery before. Yeah, that sharp nose. You definitely did it, didn't you? Even Michael Jackson would be shocked by that.
And that pointy chin. There's no doubt you had your jaw shaved down. We have all had a little bit of adjustment done, so we know our stuff when it comes to this.
I was getting really fed up by them, saying whatever they wanted to say. But just as they requested, I brought out a few photos of when I was younger. Yeah. Can you choose some photos where you look particularly photogenic? Huh? Excuse me? Why would you say that? Take a closer look.
Michael, I won't be mad, so just tell us the truth.
I was desperately trying to prove the reality, but all of their eyes were intent on getting what they thought was the truth out of me, and they refused to listen. My anger was reaching its peak, but I realized that no matter what I said, none of these guys were going to believe me. So then, if you're going to say so much, then I'll call my brother and my sister.
Huh? What is that supposed to mean? You want your siblings to back you up?
If anything, that just reeks of a lie. It's so obvious you put them up to it. Even after I said that, the four of them, including Maddie, were still laughing. I was so irritated and frustrated, and more than anything, I couldn't understand why my girlfriend wasn't defending me, and instead was joining in with them to laugh at me. I couldn't believe I got engaged to someone like that. I wanted to cry, thinking about how unlucky I was, but I desperately held it back. I tried to ignore them, and I called my siblings. They both lived in the neighborhood, and when I explained the situation to them, it was a Sunday, and they both happened to be at home doing nothing, so they were able to come immediately. Not too long after, the doorbell rang. My older brother was the first to arrive. Who was it that's saying my little brother's face was made up by plastic surgery?
No way! They look so alike!
When the four of them saw my older brother, their jaws dropped to the floor as they stared in disbelief. That's because I was standing there. That's right. My brother and I were twins. I hadn't even told Maddie about this. We were identical twins that were so similar that even our parents would sometimes mistake us. As the four of them were shocked, the doorbell rang again. As my older sister walked in, her anger was searing as she glared at the four of them. Not only that, but my sister brought her colleague from work, who was also her best friend, with her. She has known all of us since we were little kids.
So you think my little brother had surgery? Are you kidding me? You can't see these three faces that are similar? Or are you going to try to tell us that we had plastic surgery done too?
What? She's super beautiful! I've never seen someone that beautiful! My sister, that the two guys were admiring so much, was actually scouted because of those looks, and works as a model. That means that my sister's best friend was also a model, and my brother was a lawyer who works at a law firm. With these three high-level people glaring at the four of them, they all were at a loss for words. We are a quarter international, so that's why we don't look as Japanese as most people. And you know what? Why don't you guys get plastic surgery on your brains? Because they seem rotten. Wait, who's the girlfriend here? The three of them were shaking at my two siblings' pressure. And as though to sell out their own, they pointed. Maddie must have realized that she had made a ridiculous mistake, and she looked like she wanted to disappear. As Maddie was shrinking there, my sister's best friend walked over to her and looked her up and down.
Do you realize that Michael doesn't have to date you, but there are plenty of other women who want to date him? You invited your friends over to laugh at your own boyfriend. Unbelievable. Before you say anything about my brother's appearance, why don't you try polishing yourself more first?
Were you planning on dumping him if he was ugly? You should go look at your own face in the mirror. And after getting yelled at by my siblings and our friend, Maddie fell to the floor and had started crying. As for her other friends, who were cornering me about getting plastic surgery done, they had the truth dropped on them, and they couldn't even lift their faces to look at any of us in the eye. They had nowhere to go, so they said, "We're sorry," as they apologized and scuttled out the door, taking Maddie with them. Right before they left, the flashy guy turned to my sister's best friend and tried to ask, do you think we can exchange phone numbers?
I would rather die than to date a guy like you with an ugly face and an ugly personality.
And he was burned to ashes on the spot. As soon as they left my place, I got a call from Maddie.
I didn't know that you had international genes. You should have told me. I'm really sorry about today. You'll forgive me, won't you?
I'm really so glad that I found out you had a hideous personality before we got married. Goodbye. I immediately broke up with her. She kept trying to call and message after that, so I blocked her, and it was over. Maddie had been bragging to her friends and family.
My boyfriend is super good looking.
People found out that the sudden reason for breaking off the engagement was because she had a hideous personality, and her family shunned her for being so vain. At work, she was gloating that,
I'm going to get married and quit.
but her colleagues found out that the engagement was called off, and she became the laughingstock of the company and ended up resigning. Apparently, she went back to her parents' house, but every day, she's being scolded by her parents for being an embarrassment. Actually, my sister's best friend ended up asking me out, and we started dating. I've known her since we were little kids, since she lived nearby our house, and she said,
I've always liked you. I'm really glad that your engagement was called off.
I was able to meet somebody who would respect me and love me for who I am, and I'm so grateful to my siblings.
On that day, I was playing in the kids area with my daughter and my husband. My daughter was having fun playing with a child we didn't know, but his dad seemed like a nice person, and my daughter was getting along with them. So I spoke to my husband. Hey, look, another dad is playing with Michelle right now. You should play with her too. My husband was just playing games, so when I spoke to him with his cell phone in one hand,
Michelle, come here.
he said without even looking at her. That moment my daughter was playing with the other child, she ignored my husband's words and brought the toys over to the other dad, saying,
Let's play with this!
She started calling him her new daddy, so I thought I should step in and say sorry. But then my husband had gone off somewhere, so I stayed and played with my daughter. After a while, my husband came back, and when it became time to leave, my daughter was sad to leave the dad and other boys she was playing with.
I want to leave with my friend!
She started sobbing and became a little difficult to get her to leave. So I picked her up and carried her over to the car, when suddenly, my husband raised his voice and slapped our daughter with full force. I immediately tried to defend her, but not in time, and he got our daughter in the head. What are you doing to a small child? There must be something wrong with you. When my daughter was hit by my husband, she started crying even more, but then my husband slammed the car door and continued yelling. We were outside and it was so embarrassing, and I couldn't understand why he was throwing a tantrum. I admit that my daughter was being difficult, and that wasn't good, but there was no reason for him to get that angry. I was not only shocked, but I was also full of anger. The car on the way home was the worst. My husband was irritated, and his driving was way too rough, and my daughter was crying the whole way home. Was it something to get that mad about? I thought, but it turns out that my husband wasn't just irritated by my daughter being difficult when we were supposed to leave. Apparently, he couldn't stand that she was calling another man her new daddy while ignoring him. It was just so immature that I was appalled. Even though he was the crap dad who was using his cell phone the whole time his child was playing. There was one time when I got into a new male singer on TV, but then he caused a huge fuss about some other small thing and suddenly threw a tantrum in the same way. My husband is usually a pretty calm person, so I didn't think much of it then, but I realized that my husband was the extremely jealous type. I tried to talk to him and ask him why he raised a hand towards our daughter, but he refused to admit that he threw a tantrum from jealousy. According to him, he was disciplining her for crying so loudly and being an embarrassment. I also went to my daughter and told her she can't say those things because it would make her daddy sad. But she was in her rebellious phase and liked to do the opposite of what she was told. But on a regular basis, they would speak to each other like,
I hate you, Daddy.
I hate you too, Michelle. I like that little girl way more than you, because she's such a good girl. Unlike you.
and they would bicker like this. And as an extension of that, Michelle started saying that she wanted a new daddy. Even though she was at the age where she didn't like anything, I was already feeling embarrassed by my husband who would fight back and be so petty to a daughter in preschool. But he had the maturity of a child. On a separate day, we were coloring in a book of dolls with our daughter, but my husband pasted the one that he colored on the wall and seemed extremely proud and satisfied with his work of art. Any normal parent would put up their child's. That being said, our daughter is still very young, and if she could just listen to everything, then we wouldn't struggle. That's why, as her father, he should be the adult and interact with her and her moods appropriately, but he doesn't know how to do that either. And if it wasn't a child, it would be even worse. I was carrying this all myself, so I tried talking to a friend who had a child around the same age, but
No, that's definitely wrong. No matter how you think about it, your husband is wrong.
I think so too.
That's crazy that he would lay hands on a child and raise his voice like that. Not only that, but he doesn't even realize that he's wrong. That just means he's going to keep repeating the same thing from now on, and he'll throw a tantrum. Then he'll never admit that he was wrong, and that's going to continue.
Yeah, that's why, to be honest, I'm thinking about a divorce, but I can't do that so soon. In order to raise my daughter, I'm going to need money, and to get a divorce, I would need to get a lawyer and try to get as much money as I can out of my husband.
One of my friends knows a good lawyer. Do you want me to ask them?
What? Really?
Yeah, I might not get an answer immediately, but I'll message them, so hang tight.
Thank you. And so I decided on the divorce. But if my husband were to find out that I was even thinking about that, it might become dangerous for me and my daughter, so I had to act like everything was normal. Then, one day, it was my daughter's birthday. My husband and my daughter had close birthdays, so every year we would celebrate them together. However, this year, Michelle was chosen as a lead role in the school play, and also both parents from both sides were available. They asked us, so yes, I'm sure Michelle would be really happy to have so many people celebrate her birthday. I replied, and we decided to have a birthday party. Of course, we were celebrating my husband's birthday at the same time. But on the day of, both sets of grandparents had brought presents for Michelle and had both prepared cakes too. But then my husband got in a bad mood.
Do you guys not even understand that my birthday is also included in this today?
He was muttering. There's nothing we could do about it. Surely you can understand that everybody would want to celebrate Michelle. If my husband threw a tantrum at a time like this, the birthday party would become a disaster. So I desperately tried to reason with him.
No, my birthday is included in this today. So it's not right that we're only celebrating Michelle.
No, the only thing not right is your brain. No matter how you think of it, the child should be put first. Originally, my husband was the one to suggest that we should have a joint birthday party. That's why I thought at least today he could deal with it, but I was already over it. After that, my husband compared both cakes that the grandparents had brought.
See? Look, even my cake is bigger.
He started saying. It was already planned to be for the two of them, so of course we had ordered a larger cake and it was obvious it would be big. Both sets of grandparents stared at him, but then at that moment the doorbell rang.
Oh, yes, that's right. Thomas said that he was going to be coming today.
Thomas was my brother-in-law, and because he was also a preschool teacher, he was somebody that our daughter really loved playing with.
Wow, look at you, Michelle. You've gotten so big. Here, I got you a present.
Yay!
My daughter got a headband from my brother-in-law, and she put it on happily as she went around asking everybody,
Is it cute?
On one hand, I was happy, but I also had a bad feeling, which was quickly about to become reality. It turns out that my brother-in-law had been asking around and found out from his mother that Michelle was wanting a headband, and Michelle was so happy she was all over him. I glanced over at my husband, whose face was only getting more and more red.
Hey, Michelle, come here. Hey, what are you saying? What's the matter? Michelle is saying that she wants to sit here. It's fine. It's not fine. You're not Michelle's father, are you?
He started yelling. He snapped at his younger brother and lunged at him with a fist. Both mothers screamed as my husband forcibly grabbed Michelle by the arm.
You need to stay on my side. Do you understand?
He looked like a monster as he yelled at my daughter. Of course, my daughter started crying, and this time my father-in-law snapped.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Apologize to Thomas and let go of Michelle now!
And this time he grabbed my husband. My father joined in, and finally my husband was pinned down. From there, the birthday party was turned around, and we asked Thomas to take Michelle somewhere and leave the house for a while. Thomas, I'm so sorry, even though you came all this way.
No, me too. I apologize for my brother.
After the two of them left, it turned into a family meeting. There, I spoke about the last incident, as well as the other incidents that had been happening, and I honestly told them how I was considering a divorce. Of course, my husband snapped again.
Are you kidding me? I will never let you get a divorce!
This time, he tried to grab me, but my dad defended me, and my father-in-law punched my husband down to the ground.
Who do you think you are? And you're telling me you laid hands on Michelle, you scum of the earth? You don't deserve to be Michelle's father! And of course you're getting divorced by your wife! You're getting exactly what you deserve, you stupid idiot!
He yelled, but even then, my husband tried to say,
I didn't do anything wrong! This is all because you guys were discriminating against me!
He started throwing another tantrum, so my father-in-law dragged him out of the house and back to theirs. After that, I was scared of my husband, so I immediately met with the lawyer that my friend introduced me to, and both sets of parents fully supported me as I moved forward with the divorce. I even succeeded in getting a full settlement from him. After that, I moved back in with my parents, and I heard that my in-laws disowned my ex-husband. My mother-in-law apologized profusely, and she begged for me to let them support us until my daughter became an adult, and we gratefully accepted. My in-laws and my brother-in-law were all really good people after all. Left all alone, my husband continued to insist that he did nothing wrong, that the divorce was all my fault, and he tried to complain to his colleagues, but everybody was shocked and withdrew from him. Apparently, he doesn't have anybody left around him, but I think that's an obvious result.
My name is Steven. I was always quite plain and simple, and ever since I was a student, I wasn't popular at all with the girls. I actually never had a girlfriend before in my life. However, after I graduated college and got a job at a major company, my unpopular life did a 180. All of a sudden, I had multiple girls after me, and it was confusing. Before this, my friends would try to plan group dates so that I could somehow find a girlfriend, but the girls would never even look at me. However, once they found out that I had a high-earning salary, the girls would quickly change their tune and come closer to me. My friend told me to be careful, since I didn't have much experience with girls, but I was just happy to finally have some popularity. Then one day, on a group blind date, I met this one particular woman. Her name was Karen, and she was a rank above any other woman I had ever met before in her beauty, and I immediately felt a connection to her.
Steven, you seem like such a serious guy.
I get that a lot.
If I'm going to make someone my one and only boyfriend, I want them to be a serious person.
Is that so? Karen seemed to take a liking to me too, so we exchanged phone numbers on the spot, and the two of us began hanging out together. Karen was clearly out of my league with her beauty and style, but anytime we would go out together, she would proudly walk next to me. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if people thought you were in a relationship with someone like me?
What? But why? If anything, I would be happy.
You really are different, Karen.
That's not true. Anybody could see what a wonderful person you are, Steven.
You're the only person to ever say that, Karen, because everyone only tries to get closer to me because they want my money.
But I would think that you're wonderful whether you have money or not.
Karen was very clear as she was chasing after me, and it didn't take long for me to feel the same way. I decided to talk to my friend Josh about it right away. As he was listening to me, Josh felt like something was off, that she was trying to get so close to me so quickly, and he was worried. Oh, that girl, huh? There's actually a shady rumor about her. I want to look into it, so don't get ahead of yourself, and take it slow with getting to know her. Karen is a really great girl. I'm sure it's fine, though. Anyway, just don't rush into anything, alright? After my discussion with Josh, I tried to respond normally to Karen, who was aggressively hitting on me through messages. However, not only would she ask to meet frequently, but every time that we did, she would be even more aggressive, and I was completely swallowed by her pace. In the end, not even 1 week after we first met at the group blind date, she asked me out, and me being unable to say no, we began dating. Before we started dating, Karen was adamant that she had no interest in my money, but as soon as we started dating, she suddenly changed. One day, when I invited her into my house for the first time, out of nowhere, she asked me to show her my salary payslips, which I thought was suspicious. My salary payslips? Why? Didn't you say you had no interest in my money, though?
Because we might get married in the future, you know? I should at least know what your salary is.
What? Married?
We're serious about each other, aren't we?
Karen insisted on knowing what my salary was, but I found it suspicious. And so I lied and told her I didn't have the payslips and therefore didn't show her. After that, almost every day she would pester me, but I refused to show her, until one day, she took an unbelievable course of action. It had only been 3 days since we started dating, but every day from morning until night, she would call me. Once I finished work, she called me again, and when I answered, Karen was bouncing off the walls as she started talking to me about my salary.
Hey, Steven. Hey, listen, I looked up your company online, and you make such a high salary. I was honestly shocked.
You looked it up behind my back?
If you're so rich, you should have told me sooner.
No, I mean, I'm really not that rich, you know?
You really don't need to be that modest. Hey, in numbers, how much are you getting? Tell me.
I try not to talk to people about my salary. Oh, I have plans with Josh right now, so I'm going to hang up. I became even more suspicious that she went behind my back to try to find out my salary. So I lied that I had plans, and I hung up the phone. I was filled with an uneasy feeling, and Josh's warning from the other day slipped into my mind. I was starting to think I should have listened to him, and was regretting it. But I decided to let it be for now. 1 week after we started dating, that uneasy feeling would hit a bullseye. Once she was sure that I had a high salary, Karen hit me with a shocking reality. Karen asked to meet, so I arrived at the cafe, and from a distance, I could see her with a huge smile across her face as she waved me over. When I sat down, she said there was something important she wanted to talk to me about, and she squeezed my hand and stared into my eyes. What do you want to tell me?
Actually, I'm 2 months pregnant right now.
Excuse me?
Of course you'll marry me, right?
Whoa, wait a minute! It's only been 1 week since we started dating, and we haven't even done anything yet! What do you mean pregnant? With whose baby?
It could be yours, you know.
What are you saying? No matter how you think about it, there's no way!
What? Well then, maybe it's my ex-boyfriend's? Well, none of that matters anyway. You'll raise it with me, right?
Are you kidding me? I'm going home.
Hey, wait a minute. You know I'm not going to give up.
I was over it, so I got up and left. But after that, I got multiple messages from Karen saying that we should get married. I was exhausted by her madness, so I decided to tell Josh everything. When I spoke to Josh about it, he said that he asked around and done some research, and he found out that she had quite the reputation for liking men. Not only that, but someone heard her say that because she didn't know who the father of the baby was, that she was looking for a rich man who would help her raise it. This is why I told you not to rush into anything. What do I do? She's so persistent. It's really troubling me. I have an idea. I decided to go along with Josh's plan and put it into action. With his help, we created a fake salary payslip and filled it in with a shockingly low salary. If you show her that, I'm sure she'll leave you alone. Josh, thank you. I decided to show Karen straight away. The next day, I invited her out and showed her this shockingly low salary payslip, and she finally brought out her true colors.
What is this? Were you tricking me? This is awful. I've never seen such a low monthly salary in my life. Were you also lying that you're an employee at a major company?
I never once said anything about having a high salary to begin with.
Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was for me to walk around the city with a loser like you? I was only tolerating it for the money. Give me back my time.
So you really were after the money.
Isn't that obvious? Who the hell would go out with someone like you, especially if they knew that you don't have any money? Don't make me laugh. You need to go look in the mirror.
So you were fooling me, weren't you?
It was the only way I could think of to have this baby when I don't even know who the father is. But it's all over now. If you're not rich, then there's no point in being with you. So I need to hurry up and find somebody else. Goodbye.
Karen was quick to admit that she was fooling me, and she didn't seem to notice that I was recording our entire conversation. But there, she gave me all the evidence I needed. After she said such awful things to me, I didn't hold back, and I decided to send the recording straight to her parents' house. Then, when they realized their daughter's outrageous behavior, her parents came out of the suburbs and into the city to drag her back home with them. However, not long after she went back home, she somehow heard from somewhere that there was no doubt that I was, in fact, rich. and I got an extremely long message expressing her regret. And at the end of that,
I want you to come pick me up. I really do love you, honestly.
she really had some nerve. When I saw that, I was over it, so I quietly blocked her phone number, and I never had contact with her again. After that, when some time had passed, I had a fateful meeting with an employee of the bookstore that I really liked, and we began dating. She was extremely pure and modest, and was the complete opposite of Karen. However, I couldn't forget what happened to me before and the mistake I had made. So this time, I want to take my time getting to know her. For what it's worth, Karen ended up as an unmarried single mother back in the suburbs of her parents' house. And I heard that she is raising her child while helping out with their farm. After causing a lot of inconveniences messing around with multiple men around the city, I thought it was best for her anyway, to raise her child back at her parents' home, where they can keep an eye on her. All I can hope is that she would focus all of her love to her child, and that she wouldn't return to her previous environment as she raises a happy child. My name is Jonathan. I live with my wife and my wife's son, whom I'm not biologically related to, and we're a family of 3. My wife, Karen, was a full-time housewife for many years, but once her son Kevin went to middle school, she started working part-time at the mall. Boy, I think we all know where this is going, with a name like Karen. Anyway, where was I? My wife was always a bit of a free spirit, and she would make decisions on her own without talking to me first. I was often swung around by that personality of hers, but I liked that she was always bright and positive, and that's why I married her. When we got married, her son was still 5 years old, but my wife had never been married before and was a single mother. Ever since he was little, my stepson and I got along well, and before I knew it, he was already in the 8th grade. Unlike my free-spirited wife, I really gave my all to raising my stepson, and because of that, even though we weren't related biologically, I thought of my stepson as my very own son. However, as he entered puberty, we had less opportunities to talk than before, and I felt like a distance was starting to grow between my son and I. You're getting home pretty late. Were you hanging out with your friends? Yeah, well, where's Mom? She just messaged me that she's going to be home late tonight. Interesting. Hey. What's the matter? Actually, nothing. After saying that, my son turned around and quickly disappeared into his room. Of course, I wanted to know what he was trying to say, but I decided not to push. He was at a difficult age, so I decided to wait until he wanted to tell me. As we were approaching my son's middle school graduation day, my wife started not coming home at night from time to time, and I started to get worried. She would message me on her way home from her part-time job and say that she would be sleeping over at her colleague's house for the night, and she didn't come home for days. In the past, anytime my wife would find something new and interesting, she would dive headfirst into it and often stay overnight, so I figured she must have found another new hobby or something like that. However, one incident led me to realizing that this time, things were different. One day, when I came home from work, my wife and my son were in a huge fight and raising their voices. It was really rare for them to yell at each other like this, so I ran in and tried to stop them. What's going on? Raising your voices like that? Both of you, calm down!
Honey,
What on earth happened?
it's nothing. I'm gonna go take a bath.
Kevin? Why are you so angry right now? Nothing. It's obviously not nothing. Something must have happened for you guys to fight, right? Shut up! Just leave me alone! You don't even know anything! After that, my son stopped talking to me entirely. While I was troubled by this, another incident occurred that would hit me with another blow. My wife started saying that she wouldn't attend our son's graduation. I assumed that they were dragging that fight on, so I decided to try convincing my wife otherwise. I figured we should speak without my son there, so I hurried to finish up my work one day, and I went to her part-time job. While I was waiting around for her, my wife appeared in thick makeup and dressed very young. My wife was so focused on her cell phone screen that she didn't notice my presence. I thought it was suspicious, and I followed her. and we arrived in the hotel district. Then, my wife found a young man whom she waved to and ran over to. The two of them tried to disappear right into the hotel, so I grabbed my phone and took a photo for evidence. I was so shocked by my wife's betrayal that I was at a complete loss. The next day, my wife came back home as though nothing had happened and was making dinner, but I had no desire to eat that. Even though she was fooling me, I didn't feel an ounce of regret for my wife's attitude, and I could feel the anger boiling inside of me. I wanted to show her the evidence of the photo right then and there, but I definitely wanted to attend my son's graduation. For that reason, I decided to wait after his graduation to divorce her, and decided to let my wife keep swimming. After that, I was organizing our room to prepare for the divorce, when I found something that caught my eye in the drawer. What's this? This is a ticket for the express train. The date on the ticket was the date of my son's graduation. The destination was the nearest station to the hot springs town that my wife had been wanting to go to. At that moment, I learned that my wife was planning on going on a vacation with her boyfriend instead of attending her son's graduation. Any affection I had for my wife was completely gone, and I immediately started looking for a new place to live so that I could get out as soon as possible. However, the one thing that was stopping me was my stepson. To be completely honest with my feelings, I loved my son from the bottom of my heart, and I wanted to have full custody as his legal guardian. However, I wasn't confident that my son would choose me without a biological connection, so I mentally prepared myself to start living alone. And I decided to make the most of my limited time left with my son. Kevin, do you have plans today? Not really. I see. Well then, will you come fishing with me? It's been a while. Fishing? It's cold out. I don't want to. If you layer up, you'll be fine. All right, get ready. On the weekend, I invited my son to go fishing, and we went to a nearby fishing port and laid out a line side by side. I'm getting hungry. You want some cup noodles? Yeah. This is nostalgic. Back in the day, we used to go fishing and eat cup noodles like this. Yeah, we did. To tell you the truth, I was always more excited about the cup noodles than the fishing. I had a feeling that was the case. That day, for the first time in a very long time, we were able to talk to each other like we used to. Since the conversation was going well, I told my son that his mom wouldn't be attending his graduation, but his reaction was thin. His only reply was, "As long as you're there, Dad, then it's fine." And for some reason, that felt sad. And so, the day of the graduation, when I woke up in the morning, my wife was already gone. At the graduation, when I watched my son walk on that stage, I was so touched by how big he had gotten that I couldn't stop crying. The feeling that I didn't want to let go of my son was only getting stronger, but I kept reminding myself that that wasn't my decision. Once the graduation was over and we got home, my son was staring at his graduation diploma, looking really sad. I was planning on telling my son everything before my wife got back, but I was having trouble finding the words when my son got up and spoke to me first. "Hey Dad, what is it? Even though we're not related, we're family, right?" Of course we are! What are you saying all of a sudden?" "I was really glad that you came to my graduation alone today. Thank you." When I heard those words, I knew that I had to tell him, so I decided to tell my son everything. "Kevin, to tell you the truth, I'm thinking about getting a divorce." "Yeah, I think that's best." "What?" "This whole time, I didn't know whether to tell you or not, but I guess you knew about it. Mom's affair." "You knew about it?" "I just happened to see it one day. I couldn't hide my disappointment from my son's reaction. It turns out that my son had realized his mom was having an affair, and that's why they got into the huge fight that day. It's completely your choice who you decide to go with." "What? But of course I'm going to go with you, Dad." "Are you sure you're okay with that? There's no way I could live with that mother who would betray you like that. Kevin." As soon as it was decided that I would be taking in my son, we quickly gathered our belongings and got ready to move out. We were somehow able to complete the move before my wife came back, and we carried all of our belongings into the new house. When my wife got home without knowing anything, she realized that everything was gone from inside of the house, and then found the divorce papers on the dining room table, and she panicked and called me.
I'm sorry I couldn't go to the graduation. Are you mad? You didn't have to leave the house because of that. Where are you?
I can't live with a wife who's going to miss her son's graduation to go on a vacation and cheat on me anymore. We're getting a divorce.
What are you saying? This must be some kind of misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding? Well then, what's this? When I sent her the photos that I took, my wife was stunned and fell silent. Once you sign the divorce papers, go submit then.
What about Kevin? Is he with you right now?
I will be taking care of Kevin.
Why? But Kevin is my child.
Because that's why Kevin decided himself. Hey Dad, I want to talk to Mom a little bit. Can you pass me the phone? Sure. Hello, Mom.
Kevin, he's lying that you're going to go with him over there, right? You know you're not even related to that man. I am your one and only real parent.
You've got some nerve saying that after leaving everything to Dad to raise me.
That's not true. I did my best in my own way to raise you, the best way I could.
In what way? You betrayed Dad and were just messing around with some other guy. You're not my mother. You're not my parent. My only parent is Dad.
How can you say that? Please don't leave me by myself.
Why don't you go be with that guy you were cheating on us with? Goodbye!
Kevin? Kevin!
Thanks to my son's strong wishes, I was able to get full custody of Kevin, and my wife was left all alone. When I sued her for a settlement fee, she came crying to me multiple times and apologizing over the phone. Of course, I wasn't able to forgive her, so I collected a settlement fee from both her and her cheating partner. Her cheating partner then dumped her, and perhaps my wife got lonely, because then she started saying that she wanted to see her son. However, my son also wasn't able to forgive his mom, so he declined meeting her. After that, my wife wasn't able to support herself with just her part-time job, so she had to move into a cheap, run-down apartment. She used up all of her assets with the settlement fee and the move, and she was left with no choice but to live a very poor life. Although she was stuck living a dark, lonely life, on the complete opposite side, my son and I are having a great time. And on the weekends, we go fishing or camping or trekking together.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.